Hello everybody. We are here for our long-awaited M8 and M6 reveal video. If you've been following my videos, you know I've been hyping this because I personally am very excited. And so we finally have them side by side and can actually show you the differences between the M6 and the M8 and what makes each of them special in their own way. So the first thing to know is that they are replacing the current Continental M7. The numbering is no mistake. The M6, the M7, the M8 gives you a sense of where in the line they sit. The M7 will be going away. And so at the end of the video, I'll talk a little bit more about, who the M7 might be right for, which you need to jump on if you do want it, because it will be replaced by these two lovely machines. So these two machines are going to differ from each other in their capabilities and the accessories that are included. So we're going to briefly talk about why in general both of these machines are really attractive to a lot of our customers, and then also why you might go from one or the other. So in general, the similarities between M6, M7, M8 are all going to be the size, the body, the build, the motor, stuff like that. So these are really attractive to people who need a lot of throat space. This is the biggest throat space in domestic quilting machines or domestic sewing machines. It's 13.5 inches from needle to throat. That's 2.5 inches away from being, a 16-inch long arm. And it does more than just straight stitch. It does all the domestic sewing capabilities. So it's a really cool, versatile way to get a quilting machine that also does a lot of other stuff. It's also their heavy duty build. It's got a solid metal base here. It's got a lot of metal on the exterior. Some parts of it are going to be plastic, but a lot of it that you can bang against things is metal, which I personally appreciate because I'm very hard on machines. And so it's harder to wear it down. It's also a heavy duty motor and then an integrated sort of thread stand, what I would consider almost a commercial build, where you're going to be using your big cones of thread and just doing like a lot of high speed commercial type work on this machine. We're coming to the very first physical difference in the machines between the M6, M8, and M7. The M7 had a very similar but slightly different needle threader. This is the new needle threader. It is supposedly easier, better, harder to break, all those good things. It works much the same way. It's got this mouth that you thread into and cut your thread off. And then I always double check that my needle is all the way up, foot down, and then it's threaded. So I loved my threader on the M7, but anything that's harder to break is better for all of us. We're just going to run this machine real quick so that you can hear how it sounds, hear the power, hear the speed that I'm mentioning. Woo-hoo-hoo, too much power for me. So very fast. You can make it rev up to speed. You can make it jump right up to that top speed. I prefer the revving up because I don't actually sew that fast. But just in general, a really beautiful, really reliable, sort of utility focused machine, which I have loved. I have an M7. So those are both going to be the same between those two machines. From here, let's talk a little bit about those capability differences I mentioned that are going to determine if you want an M6 or an M8. So the first big one that I think is different is the M6 is smooth over here, whereas the M8 and the M7 have these knobs, and I do love these knobs. They make it very quick and easy to change my stitch qualities. I can do length, I can do needle position or width super duper fast. When you don't have those knobs, you're just on screen here and you're just going to be pushing and holding or pushing on screen. Not a big deal. Honestly, that's what most of us are used to on our machines. I'm just spoiled by my M7 where I can do these really fast changes. So that'll be one of the physical differences. Other capability differences, Floating mode, which I talked about in my review of the Janome 9480, is a new capability that is built into the M8, which allows the presser foot to lift up really high. This is like presser foot pressure lightening, but on steroids, where instead of just lightening up the pressure, you're literally lifting the foot. Super cool to see. So I'll show you with my foot down. If I just do the normal presser foot pressure adjustment, you can't physically see the foot doing anything. Even though it is lightening up the pressure, it's not physically visible. Check this out. I go to floating mode on the top of the screen, and then I can, so I'm gonna put the foot down. So raise my foot for some reason, but put the foot back down, and it's physically raising the foot. How cool is that? Okay, and it went a total of 4 probably millimeters up. If you have no idea why you should be excited about that, I will tell you. If you do faux fur, quilts with thick batting, the Buy Annie bags that have that wonderful foam in it, the soft and stable, anything that's really thick and squishy, it's hard to feed under a foot. It pushes along, and you really need a lot of raising of that foot to keep it from shoving your project forward and not letting it feed under the foot. So letting you raise your foot like this is a huge jump up for those of us who do like to use fleece or faux fur or quilts, you know, very thick quilts. So I'm super duper excited about that. Turn that off. Awesome. Okay, so that is the physical difference in like the hardware and the software that's in the M8. The M6 does not have floating mode. It does have that presser foot pressure though, and I've made do with that with my M7. And finally, another physical difference is going to be that this has the port and the software for the Accurate Stitch Regulator, which is the quilting foot for you know, nice regulated stitching when you're doing free motion. It's like a long arm. So long arms are so fancy and beautiful because they have a sensor that watches how fast you're moving, and it speeds the stitch up or slows it down to give you an even stitch. This is that technology now available for the domestic Janomes. This is this is the foot, and it goes on like this, and it's got a cord, and it plugs into a little spot on the back, and it's got a lens on the bottom. It is linty already because I was playing with it, but it's got a little lens, and it shines a laser down, and it watches the laser on your fabric. It works very well, and it helps that this machine has a pretty high top speed, so that you can move pretty quickly without it, you know, saying, oops, I can't regulate, you're moving too fast, which is really nice. I did do a little test video of this when I did my 9480 reveal video. So if you want to see this in action, go watch the video that we have out on our YouTube channel that is on the Janome 9480, which is another one of their new machines. But that is the last big physical difference I have to highlight for you between the M8 and the M6. The M6 is not ASR capable. It does not have the port. It does not have the software. So taken all together, who is the M6 for? Who is the M8 for? The M8 is obviously very quilting focused with the ASR capability. And so for somebody who is looking to get a long arm, but either doesn't have the space or, you know, can't justify getting a sort of one trick pony kind of machine that just does the quilting, this is now really close to being that long arm capability. While still giving you all of your regular sewing capabilities. The M6 is great for people who might have a bit more practice with free motion quilting, because they may say, you know what, I don't need that stitch regulator. I'm already very consistent with my speed, which is true. As you get better and better at quilting, your consistency increases, and the less you rely on that stitch regulator. And so people who are already, very kind of trusting in their ability to self-regulate or know that they're willing to put in the practice to get there, the M6 is a great sort of price point, and then you don't need that stitch regulator as well. And then for piecers who aren't going to be doing really thick fabrics, you might not need that floating mode either. And so, you know, again, you may not need all the features that M8 has. And so the M6, I would say, is going to be more piecing focused, smaller, you know, skinnier projects, not really thick projects. And then just knowing that either you're going to be practicing or you've already done your practicing on the free motion. All right. Now, I did say that another difference was in what's included with the machines. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. So the ASR is one of those, you know, inclusions that goes with the M8 and not the M6, but more specifically, the M6 cannot have the ASR added. It doesn't have the capability. So just keep that in mind. And then the M8, you know, it is their top of the line sewing. And so on top of the line machines, they really give you everything. And so the M8 is going to come with this nice extension table with drawer included. Bobbins go there. My seam ripper goes there. You know, my stitch plates can go in there. Super duper nice. It's got the ruler on it. It also has an accessory box, which will hold the, frankly, massive amount of accessories they give you. With both of these machines, they give you a ton of stuff, extra plates, tons of extra feet. You almost want for nothing as far as extra feet to go out and buy, which is super duper nice. So that'll all fit in there. And then finally, the foot pedal is different between the two machines. The M6, this guy, has their sort of standard foot pedal, which goes up there. And the M8 has a bigger foot pedal. And a lot of us are actually like, wow, I could use that. I'm so much less likely to lose it under my table fishing around with my foot if it's bigger. So that's actually pretty nice. And in addition, the M8 comes with the thread cutter switch. So this is a hands-free way to do that thread cutter, and you bolt them together. It comes with a bracket and some screws, and you just screw them onto a plate so that one's not wandering away from the other, and then you just tap the thread cutter switch. Now, these accessories that I've mentioned are obtainable for the M6, everything except the ASR. So if you get the M6 and you later decide you want this table, you want the accessory box, you want the foot pedal, you can get all of those, but it doesn't come with it, is the idea. So to wrap up, I did promise I would tell you, you know, who might want an M7 and who's got to rush in and get that M7, because again, once we sell out, they're no longer available. The M7 falls right in between. It's got the knobs that you see here, but it doesn't have floating mode. It doesn't have the ASR capability. So it largely is the M6 plus the knobs, and then you do get the table, you get the accessory box, you get the big foot pedal with the extra thread cutter switch. It's got more accessories and it's got the knobs. It doesn't have those new features that I highlighted that the M8 has. I love it. I mean, I love mine. I will be trading mine in and getting an M8. But if that sounds like it's the right in between for you, hey, let us know, because again, as soon as they're gone, they're gone. But otherwise, please do come in and sew on our M6 and our M8. And hey, if you're feeling really helpful, you know, if we sell them all, I don't have to find space for these two giant machines out in our Janome section. So if you want to call in and buy them before I have to make space, I'll love you for it. No, I'm just joking. We'll have our floor models out. But stay tuned for more videos. There's always fun stuff, Janome or otherwise, coming out. So tune in for our next video.